Hey everybody, this is Kip Monty, and in this video I'm going to be going through the entirety of Greater Howling Abyss, going through some of the mechanics of the dungeon, and then each individual boss fight. Alright, Greater Howling Abyss is in the northern part of Hell Swamp. First thing I'm going to go over is group composition. This dungeon makes it very difficult for melee to participate. Occasionally I've seen a tank come into here, but melee DPS is just wasted. Range DPS has a huge advantage in the boss fights in this. So what you're going to want is preferably somebody with a bubble, somebody from Witchcraft who can bubble CC, and hopefully a second CC, whether it be the Earthen Grip or second bubble, something, because most of the mob pools, the group trash pools, have 3 mobs in them, so you're going to be able to CC2 while you kill the first. The mobs do a pretty significant amount of damage, and if you're coming in here like we are with generally cloth tanks, that can be a lot of damage. Also, using abilities to slow and stun, things like that, are going to be extremely helpful. So you see right here, I'm going to this room and pulling the adds to the left and the right, the little patrols. That's going to happen several times in the dungeon. And you see this green crap bouncing off us right now. That's an ability that chains back and forth between group members, so if somebody gets it on them, everybody needs to spread out, so you stop that from chaining back and forth. That's also a mechanic you're going to see on the first boss fight. At this point I'm going to speed up the video, else this would take forever. I'll just try and highlight some of the mechanics as we go through. Like in this room, there's some guys up on top that can be killed using these stationary cannons on the ground. Otherwise they're going to be dropping down stuff on top of you. These vines that we're going up right now are actually pretty funny because a lot of people have incredible issue getting from the vine to the staircase. If you just hold your movement key and jump off, you should be fine to land on this ledge and go around. But I've seen some people fall repeatedly, and it is hilarious. Once you're in this room and the adjoining room, one of the 2 of them will have a chest in it that gives you a key to get through the lock gate that I just passed a second ago. You want to go ahead and kill all mobs in here though, because they all have a chance of dropping the set gear that you're going to need, and it doesn't take long to kill the extra ones. When you hit one of these eggs or go near them, they spawn 2 little snake adds. No big deal. You'll see a lot of these throughout the dungeon. This barricaded door can be opened by using the torches you get out of the brazier to burn them. The first boss in Greater Howling Abyss is pretty simple. Barbarous the Golden has just a few abilities. Easiest way we've found to do them is to have a ranged tank or archer, somebody kite him around the edge of the room. He's pretty slow moving and he stops a lot to cast abilities, so you shouldn't have any difficulty with the kite. The 2 main abilities he does are called spawning. Barbarous is spawning, and he summons these eggs you see around the room. DPS, target those real quick and get those down so they don't spawn any of the serpents that you've been seeing as you work your way here. Initially there's just 2 eggs per spawn. Later in the fight there'll be 4 eggs at a time. Shouldn't be difficult for you to get them down. You'll actually see me tab target over to them and help out there as well, even though it was never an issue. His next main ability is Barbarous' shards. He's going to put ice on the ground. Simple enough to move out of, not a big deal there. His other abilities aren't very significant. One of them is called Barbarous' Howl. In that ability, he's going to do a conal AoE in front of him. Generally, people shouldn't be standing right in front of the boss anyway. And then he also has his fourth and last cast ability, Barbarous' Tail Thrash. It's just a whip attack, and you'll hardly see me take any damage in this fight, because usually by the time he's done casting it, I'm well away from him. He has two other abilities. One of them is a charge. Just get out of the way of it. You should have plenty of time if you're kiting around like I'm doing. It trips you up if you get hit by it, but still it's not a big deal even if you do get hit. And then he also shoots that green stuff on you that bounces back and forth between people, which you've probably already seen it if you've gotten to this point in the instance. So that's it for this guy. Just make sure your DPS takes out the eggs pretty quickly, and you shouldn't have any issue getting to this fight. Note that when he dies, you'll loot him for some items, but the main loot is coming from a chest that spawns nearby. You have to blow it up and then take the loot out of there. Appreciate you watching, and see you guys around. I do want to record the mechanic on this girl in here, the Medusa. She's got 3 ads with her. You kill her first, loot her. You have to roll for the item real quick, and somebody's going to be able to loot her head, and then you use the head to interact with the other mobs so that they can all be one-shotted down. So I like going in, killing the Medusa while getting aggro on the guards, kiting them around while the group finishes off Medusa, then we get the head. A lot of groups are going to get stuck at the second boss in Greater Howling Abyss. Captain Godfrey hits like a truck, so you'll want somebody fast kiting him around. The most dangerous part of the fight to me is the very first pull, because he's running up to you just trying to melee you, and those melee strikes hit really hard. So you're going to want to be able to avoid at least one of the 2 that he's going to be able to get off before he starts doing any of his other abilities. After that it becomes a little bit easier because he's going to be stopping periodically to cast his different abilities and bounce around the room and everything. She shouldn't be taking more than 1 shot here and there, giving your healer plenty of time to get you topped off. He has 1 cast ability, and he's going to stop and cast Godfrey's Ice Soldier Summon. And that's going to make these guys you see running over towards me appear. Not a big deal. You don't need to do anything with them except just run away from them. You might could have somebody tag them just to keep the aggro and have one person circling around the room getting followed by him. I do that sometimes when we're fighting this guy. Sometimes I don't, and we're fine anyway. His other 2 abilities are both spinning attacks. One, he's just going to stay stationary like you see him doing right here, and he's going to throw out these balls that do magic damage. Just heal through those. Then you've got this where he's bouncing around the room. You want to have your group stay spread out during the fight, because as he's bouncing around, he's putting a bleed on everybody he hits. It's an area of effect, so you don't want him hitting more than 1 person at a time. Anybody that has Purge is going to want to try and take those bleeds off so you can give some relief to your healer. His last ability, he's going to start spinning, raise up in the air, and he's going to start turning on fire. At this point, you need to collapse the center of the room and have somebody pop protective wings. That'll prevent everybody from taking a massive amount of damage. Hopefully you kill him before he can do it a second time, or you have 2 sets of protective wings, so it doesn't matter. Alternatively, you can get hit by one of these guys following me around, these ice soldiers, and they'll freeze you, and that protects you as well. The third boss of Greater Howling Abyss is definitely a tough fight. Kell can be the bane of a lot of groups, but know that if you get past this guy, you should be good to finish the rest of the dungeon. I'm going to show you this fight from 2 separate points of view. This video I'm showing you right now is from when I'm not the tank, I'm just a DPS in the fight, so you can kind of get a better idea of where our layout and positionings are, and then it's going to transition to another video of the same fight but with me tanking it. So when I'm tanking, I'll be standing on that brazier across from where I am right now, but I wanted to be able to give you these angles that you're getting to see right now, where you get to see the broader picture of the group. A lot of crap goes on in this fight. The boss has a lot of abilities, and all they really amount to is a lot of magic damage, primarily on the tank. The tank's going to be taking a ton of magic damage, so I'd recommend a cloth tank, somebody with a lot of magic resistance. You also want somebody with a lot of cooldown so they can keep themselves off as much as possible. We've got our group spread out, as you can see, one person across from me back to the right on a bone pile. To the far right, you see somebody standing on a ledge, and then behind me to the right, there's also another person on either a brazier or a ledge or something over there. And in front of me, the tank is on top of a fire brazier, and then I'm in this water puddle. The reason we're doing this is because there's a lot of ground-based attacks in this fight that can be completely negated by proper positioning. So I think maybe the way the fight is supposed to be set up, you see I'm getting lifted up right now by this water spout. There's 4 of these pools around the room, and you're probably supposed to set up in those, but the game mechanics leave open the option to stand on top of the bone pile, stand on top of the wall, the fire brazier, things like that. So that's what we've chosen to do. It makes everybody be in range of each other and makes the fight a lot more simple. I guess the first main thing I'm going to point out is the room gets flooded by water every now and then, like you see right now. I'm being spouted up into the air. That water puts out some kind of nasty damage, so we just try and avoid that completely. As far as the boss's abilities go, he has the summon fire elemental, summon lightning elemental, freezing arrow. All of these just amount to a lot of damage in the main tank, like I explained earlier. So right here you see we finished the fight. Now I'm going to a view from where I'm actually tanking the boss. So you'll see me rotating through my cooldowns, trying to keep something up as much as possible, not burning them all at once. It really helps to have protective wings and invincibility, because this guy's all magic damage. So when I pop wings, I get a long period of time where I'm not taking any damage. It gives the healer a chance to meditate or do whatever he needs to do to top everybody off. Right there you see fire everywhere. That's from his fireball. By standing on top of these things, that ground-based AoE attack doesn't hit us at all, so we can completely ignore that. There's a second type of fireball you're going to see, like right now, where it's actually on my face bouncing around me. That one you need to just move a step or 2 away, then you can return to back where you were. It does like, I think, 4k damage or so. Right now I'm using my invincibility, so it doesn't matter that it's hitting me. If you have to choose between stepping in the water and taking the fireball to the face, take the fireball. Don't ever step out into the water when it's flooding the room. The boss is also going to put people to sleep, so you're going to want somebody in the raid who can unsleep people. He'll do a silence as well, his silence arrow. To sum it up, you're going to want a tank who can take a lot of magic damage, cycle through a lot of cooldowns, a healer that can put out a fair amount of heals, and DPS that can get through this fight as quickly as possible, because the longer it takes, the more your healer's going to go out of mana and you're going to end up wiping it. I start this fight off showing you my map a lot, because the 4th boss is in that little circular room just below the last room there. We're going to drag him all the way back to the second boss's room because he's easiest to defeat if you kite him in a large circle. And also this room has these braziers around the edge, so you can use those to kind of slow him down as you're kiting him around. He kind of hits him and has to go around him, so it makes it easier to kite him. You've got a lot of room to work with, so we have somebody fast pulling him. He's going to run the boss all the way back to this room, and then he's just going to go in a circle the whole time while we stand in the middle killing him. Very simple fight to do if you're doing it this way and have somebody that's fast that can hold aggro and keep them. You'll see later in the fight I'm actually going to take aggro. I'm in a tank spec, so I know eventually I'm going to pull aggro, so I'll start going around the room with the tank until eventually the mob gets on me, then I'm able to kite them around for the rest of the fight. I know this is a cheesy way to do it, but the boss's normal mechanics are kind of buggy from what I understand. There's some weapons in his room that you pick up off the ground. You're supposed to use them to dispel this rage that he's going through right here, and apparently it makes him vulnerable and this and that. But like I said, it seems to be pretty buggy from the reports I've heard. People trying to use it and it doesn't work half the time. So this strategy just seems to work a lot easier. I have seen him tanked one time. Our tank was taking a pretty significant amount of damage, and so he was trying to kite and tank at the same time. So it is possible, but like I said, this just seems to be the much easier way to do it. Alright, once again we have a boss that is easier to kite around than to try and go toe-to-toe with. So his first ability, Barbarous's Whisper. You see this shield I'm standing next to. You can pick it up and then it gives you an ability you can activate that I'm showing right there. Think back to the days of playing Legend of Zelda where you got the mirror shield, and you'll kind of have the idea of how this mechanic works. He's going to cast this green trail on a couple of people in your group, and the idea is that at least one person in the group has to pick up the shield and activate it. Anybody standing around them also gets the benefit of the shield. You'll see the little symbols floating around me when I activate it. This reflects the spell he's trying to cast and turns him into stone instead of turning you into stone. So if there's two people getting it cast on him right now and both of them get the shield like right there, then he's going to turn to stone. Nobody in our group will turn to stone. If one of them's near me but one of my group members is away, that's fine. The boss is going to turn to stone. The one near me is going to be okay. The other person's going to turn to stone since they didn't get the benefits of the shield, but that doesn't matter since the boss can't run over there and hit him or do anything to him. His second ability are these glowing light balls you see him throwing around. I know they're shiny and everything, but don't go touch them. They explode, do AoE damage, so it's a standard stay out of the stupid, avoid the stupid type mechanic. Other than that, if you just kite him around the room, he's actually a pretty simple fight. Make sure somebody's popping the shield so that he's turning to stone, not your group. Also keep in mind that when he is stone, he doesn't take very much damage at all. It's greatly reduced, so use that time to reposition, recharge, things like that. Try and just let the tank be the one attacking him during that period so he can maintain his aggro. You're going to want to watch out for his tail swipe. It has a very large radius on it and it does a massive amount of damage. Most people in your group are going to get one shot by it if they get hit. Lower geared people doing this 4 gear, obviously they're not going to have a ton of health, so that tail swipe will one shot a lot of people. So stay away from being behind him. Halfway through the fight, at his 50% mark, he's going to start chaining people into him. When you run away from him, always run away in front of him. Don't ever run away behind him. So the tank's going to have to be mindful of where everybody is and not turn him so that his tail swipe hits everybody in the group. He usually does that tail swipe just after chains anyway, so as soon as you get chained in, you're running away to his front to avoid that tail swipe. He also has 2 charge-like abilities. Neither one of them is a problem because if you're kiting him around the room, you're already going to have moved by the time his charge gets to you. And I say 2 charge-like abilities because one's an actual charge. The other one is like a bunny hop that he does towards the group. It looks funny as crap seeing this giant titan hopping around towards you. It's just ridiculous. And that's pretty much it for this guy. He has some standard damaging mechanics, but nothing that you have to work around or be mindful of other than a heal here and there. If you're kiting him properly, you shouldn't be taking much damage at all. That green ability he's casting on everybody does do a little bit of damage, so you will eventually need some heals in the tank. It's actually funny, our group right here, everybody in the group is about to die except for me. And once you die on this fight, you can't run back. You can run just outside the room, but there's a doorway blocking the entrance back in. So if you die, you can just come to the outside of the room and not actually get inside. So see right there, the last member of my group died. So now it's just me. My group members have spawned and are starting to run back thinking it's a wipe, but I'm not willing to give up just yet. So like I said, you shouldn't be taking a lot of damage if you're kiting. The only real damage you're going to be taking is from that channeling ability that he has. So what you'll see me do here is I go around the room, I pick up the shield as needed, I cast it on him, turn him to stone, and I'm still able to kite him around the room. I've got one self-heal ability that I'm able to use, and that's all I need to keep myself alive. Every now and then you'll actually see me run by the door to the instance where my healer is able to cast an AoE heal through the door to kind of help top me off. But I'm able to finish the fight from, what's he at, about 40% solo. So this just kind of makes my point that this isn't a hard fight once you understand the mechanics. He may take you a little time, but as long as you're executing, you can take all day to DPS him if you need to.